Well then, I guess we're doing another one of these so quickly, week after week. um, this one might be interesting because I was recently talking about fated connections, events, and destiny, and how certain people and events are like meant to happen in our lives, and there's not much you can do or change about it. And I was thinking, well, I didn't think too much on this because I really want to talk from my personal experience with all of these types of connections. Because it's one thing that I've noticed a lot on my journey. People come when they're meant to come, and they're exactly how they're meant to be when you meet them. And I think it touches on alignment as well. But basically, what we were talking about was when we meet people that are meant to be, quote unquote, meant to be, or fated, can we meet that person in someone else? Or is it specifically tied to the person? And I was leaning more towards it's tied to the person because that person's life story and how they are as a person and what they've went through is exactly what you need the moment you meet them. How they exist is exactly what you needed at the time that you met them to play out the events that you need for your soul lesson, if that makes any sense. Yes, you can meet these people, you can have these experiences and lessons through other people, but this is where I believe it's fated and meant to be. You were always meant to meet that person because that person signed a soul contract with you before you were even incarnated here, before you were even born. In the higher realms, you guys decided, hey, let's give each other these lessons. And when you think of it like that, I don't think you can get these lessons through someone else. You might get the experience, yes, but when certain events and meetings of people are fated, I think it's tied to the person, honestly. Like nobody else would have triggered me or given me that lesson or given me that experience the same way that that person did because of how they were shaped through their childhood and their traumas and their events and the way they exist and think and believe and what's in their heart. It was all like perfectly formulated to going down how it went to give me that lesson or that trigger or that hurt or that experience or that love or that joy. And when you've been thrown on the divine path and your spiritual path and going towards a higher path, those events are coordinated and orchestrated. Those people that came to you were meant to come to you. And oftentimes it's because they're trying to show you yourself through the mirror, through the reflection. And we're doing the same thing. I talk about this in other videos and Twitter posts and all that because it's what I keep seeing and it keeps happening. I always shine a light on people's like inner wounds and their self-worth issues and their traumas and their hangups. And they do the same to me. A lot of the time though, I've noticed that they show me the good parts of myself. The parts of me that I refused to see on my own or couldn't see on my own because of my triggers and my insecurities and my darknesses, you know? And I have a feeling it's the same for them as well. Like I'm saying, if they go and reflect, they'll see themselves as well. Because that's what I feel like these connections are fated for. They're meant to show you your higher self and who you really are at your core. Slowly but surely, you meet people and person after person who shows you more of yourself. And it's honestly a magical and beautiful thing when you sit and think about it. And every time I reflect on connections when they end or come, like the quote unquote contract is over, I'm always grateful for the experience. Every single time. It's like, wow, that person really did this for me. I grew in so many ways because of them. And if there were hurts attached to the connection, it's still overall awesome because you get to see the soul growth when you look at it from a higher perspective. And that's another thing that these types of connections get you to do, man. They really get you to reflect. At least with me, they do. I don't know if this is just because that's how naturally I am. I always want to know the why of things. I'm always inquisitive. And I want to see the higher meaning of everything, even the universe. Honestly, that's why I started diving into all of this. But there's also the reverse as well. You can get caught in ego and hurt, you know? You can get caught in, oh, this person ruined me. Oh, this person hurt me. And all you see is the pain. All you see is the bad experience. All you see is the toxicity. But you don't grow from it. You just push it off. You brush it away. You leave it alone. You pretend it didn't matter. That connection, that person didn't matter to you, and you move on and you run from the lesson and the pain, which is what you were meant to go through. You were fated to go through that experience and that pain, but you run from it. And what that does is, this is what I mean by it coincides with attraction and vibration and alignment. You're going to draw that experience to you through another person. And this is where it coincides with what we were talking about in the beginning with is it tied to a specific person, or could you meet that person in someone else? And it's honestly both. Like neither of us were wrong. You meet who you're meant to meet. But if you don't learn the soul lesson, that soul lesson will repeat. But that original person that showed you this lesson was fated for you. And that event and that lesson is going to keep cycling and repeating until you figure out what they're trying to show you. Don't just sit in the hurt. Don't just be like, oh, this person sucks, the world sucks, everything sucks. Don't do that. Like, go in and find out the good. Find how you grew. Find how you should grow. Find how you should operate. Find the different ways that you can change how you operate. Because that's the only way you complete these lessons and close out these cycles and close out these quote unquote contracts. It's when you operate at a higher vibration. Because now that quote unquote person and that experience no longer attracts to you. You attract new experiences and new lessons that are waiting for you. Which is an interesting thing too as well when you think about it. If we get stuck in that cycle of, oh, like pity and sorry, like, oh, I feel sorry for me, I like everything goes bad for me. If you get stuck in darkness, all you're really doing is holding up your own lessons and your own blessings that are right there ready to come. The other people that are fated for you, that are in more alignment with you, they're more vibrationally at your level. If you sit there in shame or guilt or fear or hurt and you don't go within and reflect, all you're going to keep doing is delaying your blessings that are ready to come in. You're going to delay the good fated experiences, the good love, the good friends, the good experiences, the good joy, the good laughs. You're going to delay those by sitting in, oh man, I hurt this person. Oh man, this person hurt me. Which you're supposed to feel those things too, because that's another one. That's a lesson as well. Especially me, I had to learn that. I was so detached from emotions. I had to learn that it's okay to sit and feel the hurts. It's okay to feel how everything affects you. You can't just run from it and stay detached from your emotions. You have to feel these things. And that was a big lesson for me. I kept and at the beginning of my journey, I kept drawing in situations and people that were triggering me at this insecurity level. And I didn't know why until I figured out the why. And the why was that I was telling myself I sucked at people, that I don't know how to talk to people. I don't know how to deal with them, because I was always an isolationist hermit and depressed for most of my life. And I didn't have the experience of having social contracts. I was always socially anxious all my life. So I didn't really pick up on social cues and what's normal and all these things. And I kept telling myself deep within my subconscious, that's what I was telling myself. I suck at people. I'm going to hurt them because I'm hurt. And that's what kept coming up until I saw it. And I started to heal why I was thinking this way. And then I started working on it. I was like, all right, let me practice talking to people. Let me go out into the world and practice small talk, because I don't that's a normal human thing. But to me, I dread small talk. To me, it's pointless. That's superficial. It's facetious. I want the deep shit. But at a human level, you have to small talk. Because in order to get to the deep shit, you have to be like, yo, how are you? What's good? How have you been? It's a long time no see. You have to practice these things. And as I've done it over the years, I no longer have that insecurity of, oh, I suck at people. It's no longer there at the back of my mind. It's like, oh, am I going to say the wrong thing? No, there's no more of that social anxiety. Now it's just, hey, I'm going to act how I am and how I feel. I'm going to act as me. And if it hurts somebody, then I'll try my best to fix it. If I say the wrong thing, I can be embarrassed about it, sure, and I probably will, but I can brush it off now. because I know I can fix that if I if I do anything wrong. But I can also move the fuck on and go somewhere else where I'm not embarrassed too. Which brings me to the fact that back to that point of you're delaying your blessings. You know, you can sit there and be embarrassed. You can sit there and be in shame, or you can learn to forgive yourself. You can learn acceptance. You can learn to embrace how everything went and how you acted. Because when you think of the divine orchestration, how you acted is exactly how you were meant to act. If you hurt somebody while you were in your insecurities and your fears or in your darkness, try to rectify it if you can. Apologize, man up, take accountability. But then try to do better next time as well when you move on. Don't sit there and just dwell on your mistakes, because your mistakes are a part of the human experience. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. We're going to say the wrong thing. We're going to trigger people's wounds. But what's important is, how do you operate and move on from it? Do you just sit there in shame? Do you sit there in guilt? Like, oh, I keep hurting people. Oh, they keep hurting me. Or do you try to grow from it? Hey, I'm hurting them. Why am I hurting them? Oh, it's stemming from my self-worth issues. Oh, it's stemming from this betrayal that happened to me from friends when I was a teen. Oh, it happened because of this trauma that's happening now. Oh, it's because I'm stressed out. And that's what these connections are here for. They're here to show you your triggers. They're here to show you how you operate. They're here to show you the ways that you're toxic. They're here to show you the ways that you can grow. I'm kind of derailing, honestly, when I think about it. But not really, because that's what these connections are for. These quote unquote fated people are for. They're here to do that. They signed up to give you these lessons. They signed up to show you yourself and you them. And I'm going to go off topic here, but there's another interesting thing that I found last year. I was diving into learning astrology, and I finally delve into synastry charts, and you can actually see when people are fated for you. It's so crazy to see it, that you can actually use astrology to see when a connection is karmic and when they're fated to be in your life. And kind of, you can almost see what they're here to show you too, if you really deep dive. But I don't take it that far. I like to live with the go in the flow attitude. Like, I'm just like, all right, we'll see whatever this connection brings. I'm not going to read into that bad placement that's there. I don't like using astrology like that. And you kind of using it as a judge for people. Like, oh, this person's in my 8th house karmic. No, they're going to hurt me. They're going to bring up my insecurities and my traumas. No, I'm going to cut them from my life. Because if you do that, you're running from your growth as well. And I don't like using astrology like that. I like using astrology for myself and a better understanding of myself. But it was really cool to see, I'm on this topic because it was really cool to see, astrology wise, when people are supposed to be in your life. And that's why I'm leaning more towards it's fated for the person and not the event. It's like that person was always meant to come to your life. You signed up, you were soul tied to this person. And the cool thing about this was I was able to see every person I met last year. Last year was a karmic year. It was 2024. If you add those numbers in numerology, it adds to an 8. And an 8 is a karmic number, karma year. Every single person I met last year was karmically tied to me through synastry when I checked all of our charts, which was really fucking cool to see and crazy, because it really puts it into perspective that you can see the divine orchestration. And it's fascinating. That's why I love astrology for all this. And another thing it showed is we have multiple soul ties. We have multiple karmic relationships and connections. And I know when the whole spiritual and tarot community on YouTube, they like to bring up karmic as if it's like or soul ties and all. They try to bring up soulmates as if they're these really, really fancy, special things that you're meant to keep forever, but you're not. And that's what I think a lot of people make the mistake of. They hold on to these connections where you have synastry, where you can communicate telepathically, where you get dreams for them, where you can feel their feelings. We hold on to these because they're special. They really are, but they're not that special. And that's what I've been getting shown in the last year, because you can have synastry with other people who give you those same experiences. but they're still special in the sense that they were fated to come into your life and you were meant to meet that soulmate. We have many soulmates. That's what I've been learning and being shown. And I honestly believe they come in the divine perfect time because I saw this on my journey. I had a catalyst and then I went through a healing period where I had to heal through all that. And then the next person comes in, they show me a different lesson and a different aspect. And then I'm like done with people. And so I move on and I start getting toxic almost. Like I reverted back to my old self. I was like, fuck people. Like I'm not helping people no more. um, and then the next person comes in and that person brings me out of those thoughts. That person pulled me back into a love and a light way of life. They pulled me back into seeing life as good. They pulled me back into seeing how connections and people are special and why I should be helping people. They pulled me back to purpose. And that's where alignment comes into play with all of this. Sometimes you step out of alignment because you go too deep into darkness where you're like, I fucked up. I hurt them. Fuck, why do I always hurt these people? But the divine will bring you somebody else fated to you that's going to pull you out of that and realign you back to your higher path. Hopefully through a lesson where you see the good. But a lot of people get caught in the bad. And I'm not saying it's bad because when you're on these paths, the timing is perfect no matter what. If you're stuck in shame and defeat and hurt and toxic mindsets, that's planned, honestly. I believe that that's planned. You're going to be in that mode for as long as you're meant to be in that mode until the next meant to be person comes in to pull you out of that. And sometimes it's you pulling yourself out of that because you meet somebody who's likely fated, who's likely soul tied to you, who's likely a soulmate, and you just naturally come out of those mindsets and you realign back towards love. And that's what I honestly believe all these connections are for. They're meant to bring you closer to a true love that never goes away. And that's what a lot of these YouTubers don't really touch on. They bring up soulmate and soul tie and twin flame and all these terms as if it's one person. But I believe all these connections are meant to bring you towards a true love for yourself. That's what I've noticed with my journey specifically. And I don't want to say this is for everybody because this probably only applies to my soul journey, finding self-love, which is interesting because you can see that in astrology, which is fucking crazy too. But I don't want to derail again. I honestly think these connections are meant to bring you towards your higher self for having love for yourself and for people and for creation and for the divine. It brings you to a higher vibration of love. And it doesn't matter if it's for another person. It's all meant to bring you towards seeing yourself, towards accepting yourself. All these fated people are here to bring you closer to loving yourself fully, embracing your insecurities, embracing your darkness, embracing your mistakes, embracing your shame, your defeat, your guilt, and releasing it with forgiveness, with accountability, with healing, with changing those mindsets, with getting new perspectives. That's what all these quote unquote fated people are here to do. And that's what I firmly believe now after going from person to person to person and seeing how everything played out in the end. It all led me to myself, honestly. It led me closer to the divine, led me closer to love, it led me closer to God. And when you step back and you see this, it's honestly beautiful. Like, it's a true love for God, honestly. It's like, wow, you really orchestrated all those people and all those bad events and all those hurts and all the good experiences too. You orchestrated everything so that I can appreciate all of this, so that I can grow at a soul level and as a person. Every bad thing was there for me to grow from, and I did, because I didn't stay in darkness. And when I tried to stay in darkness willingly, the divine and the universe brought me a new fated person to pull me out of it. And eventually, I started vibrating at a part where I wanted better for myself. I wanted more love in my life because that's what I was giving out to everybody. I wanted to receive more of it. So that's what was fatedly drawn to me. I was drawn to people who pour into me. And that's one of the things you have to see on this journey as well. Who stays? Yes, we have karmic soulmates. We have soulmates, we have soul ties, we have soul bonds. But the ones that are meant to stay in your life and stay on your mind and stay in your heart are the ones who pour, the ones who give you time, the ones who show up for you, the ones who give you presents, the ones who meet you halfway. Those are the ones who you keep in your life. Those are the ones you fight for. Those are the ones you work it out with. Because the ones who weren't meant to stay in your life will never see you. They'll never understand where you're coming from because they were never meant to. They were always going to see you from their lens of their hurts and their insecurities. They were never meant to stay. You were meant to show those insecurities to them. You were meant to trigger those things in them for their journey. So I guess if I really want to end this and leave it on a note, it's be mindful. Live your life with intention of what you want to surround yourself with. These fated people are going to come regardless, and it's all going to happen in divine time. But you have to be mindful of who you keep and what you want for your life. What do you deserve? And demand that. And that's who will come to you. The other fated people who are out there in the distance going through their journeys and their traumas and their healing journeys and finding love themselves, those people will naturally be drawn to you when you're ready to receive them, when you're ready to demand that for yourself. And that's very powerful to think about because you create your reality here. You create these experiences. You tell the divine, hey, I want more karmic shit. Hey, I want stuff that hurts because you're living in that insecurity that you never worked on. But when you work on those things, you're telling the divine, hey, I want better for myself. I want a better experience. You create this. You can literally create heaven on earth by forgiving, by accepting, by embracing yourself and others as they are. And going with the flow. That's why I said I live more with go in the flow now. If somebody comes into my life, I go with the flow to see what they're here to bring me. And then I determine, do I like what they're bringing? Yes. Okay, I want to keep them in my life. No? Okay, well, I'm going to distance away from that person because I don't like how they make me feel or they don't align with the intent that I've set for my life and what I wish to experience and what I want to draw to myself. And that's our power.